Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of What's Happening in Travel. Um, we are recording this on Wednesday, March 17th, and I think this is episode 73. I'm going to mess this up again, but I think this is 73. Um, so why
You
don't I
keep
know it?
saying this, but we should probably decide which episode this is before we start
That would have
to
been
look a little more professional.
that would have been a good
Professional,
thing,
but
wouldn't it? It was
but
funny because I thought about it and I'm like, oh, I need to check. But I checked. And I think it is 73 because last time we did two episodes in one, it was 71 and 72. And so I think it's 73.
okay.
If not, then it's 74.
But I'm going to write it in my notes, so we never do this again.
And well, the reasons why this happened is because we're a little behind in uploading them. And so that's why. But I'm here with my buddy.
For sure.
And I am Kerwin, and this is another episode of What's Happening in Travel. And we're here in Houston, and it just rains. It's a little chilly here. But let's first start talking about backgrounds. What have you got there, Krisha?
So I found this picture recently. I don't know what it was related to, but it's a BA 744 landing in Seattle
Oh
in,
wow,
I
okay,
believe, 2019 somewhere,
yeah.
sometime.
Huh.
And I just thought it looked nice with, I'm assuming Mount Rainier in the background.
Yes, that is Rainier. It's very rare that you see Mount Rainier so clearly. So this is
So
definitely a nice photo. All right, good deal.
yeah.
Where did you find this one?
I think I found it in like a news article or something like
Okay,
that.
gotcha.
So,
Very cool.
but um, sorry.
It's okay. You should bring him on as a guest to the show. And I have a Ryanair 737-800, and I had gone to Vilnius, and this was one of my. I think I spent 12 hours in Vilnius or something like that. Because I arrived at like I don't know 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, and I left on the early morning flight at 7 a.m. or something like that. So I had less than 12 hours there. And this was my 800. And when you land, it's Ryanair, so they don't use jetways and stuff like that. And so we just exited from the front of the plane and the back of the plane. If I can move to the sideways and see that. So that's that one. And we chose these two because we actually have stories about these two airlines today. So,
Two
and
pioneers. Yes.
exactly. And so, speaking of that, we will jump right into it. So, we talked about Malaysia Airlines a little bit in the last episode, and which number shall remain nameless. But what have you guys, Kusha? What's the latest on Malaysia?
Very interesting article I saw. This was on MalaysiaAirlines.com.
Mm-hmm.
And they have launched Malaysia Airlines. So what they're doing is they are featuring the handicrafts of their employees on their um, e-retail store, the online retail store, which is called Temptations.
Okay.
This started on March the 10th this year. And what they're doing is that they're recognizing that this is a difficult time for everybody. And they're doing this to essentially encourage, as they say, their employees' entrepreneurial spirit for those who transform their hobbies and passion into income generating projects during this challenging time. I
Yeah.
think this is a great idea. I wasn't too thrilled by the initial offerings, but then that's just me. So the first two people they highlighted was a flight attendant called Agnes Yap.
Mm-hmm.
She was a graphic designer before she joined Malaysia Airlines 20 years ago. And what she's done is that she's was inspired by the unique Malaysian Airlines flight attendant uniform, the kebaya, which is that tunic um, that Singapore Airlines crew also wear.
Right.
The tunic with that sarong, the ankle length dress. And she created stickers, keychains, and mask folders with that kebaya logo.
Oh, wow.
And she did all this on a tablet, and they are now on sale on the website. And the second employee was someone named Wesley Anak Juntan, or Yuntan, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Sarawak, which is the eastern province on Borneo Island, Malaysia. And what he has created are a line of traditional Iban, which is a Sarawak native costume design.
Ah,
So
okay.
he's got all these designs of male and female dolls. Um, and you can order them at temptations.malaysiaairlines.com, which I thought was a great idea. I mean, I'm not thrilled by these two, the work of these artists, but that's, I mean, someone must be. And there's going to be a lot of other people in line to be featured as well. But I think this is a fantastic idea. I mean, it
That's cool.
really, I think, is. I've never heard of any other airline doing this, and I hope others do take the lead. But what I also
Either.
found
Yeah.
is that the airline has created Malaysia Airlines home cooks, where on their YouTube channel, Malaysia Airlines features traditional Malay recipes by their employees, which again, I think is such a great idea.
That is very cool.
So,
Maybe I'll have to do
uh,
a cooking with Kerwin episode on those Malaysian Malay recipes.
yeah, but they've got things like laksa, which is the soup, the paratha, which is the bread, and the rainbow rice, which is called nasi hujan panas. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that or murdering it, but I think this is such a great idea, and I wish more airlines would do this.
I think you're
So
very right there, Kusha. And I saw you got
it's so
excited.
unique
I know, I saw you got excited when you start mentioning the food items.
because Malaysian food is fantastic.
Just so you know, Kusha do enjoy his food. And dude, okay, so hopefully we can get to go do some flying and just try to um I guess to see what else is going on in the world. One of the things, as you're talking about how the airlines are helping their employers, which is really good, and I haven't really seen any other company doing that just yet. But
Hmm.
I assume that they have, but we probably just haven't heard about it. Um,
True.
what a lot of people don't realize is that. So I read something in the New York Times, and it's related to this in a sense because we tend to forget how much COVID has really devastated a lot of businesses and a lot of places and a lot of people. Yeah, and not to mention the debts and stuff like that. But some towns are tourism is the only thing that keeps the towns going. So I think there was a story in the New York Times about Skagway, which is up in
Hmm.
Alaska, which they have cruise ships coming through. That
Yep.
entire town, the cruise ship is their lifeblood. And
And
they're
Venice, like
exactly right.
because they
And
love to hate tourists, but they need them.
but they need them, right? And so people have been yelling and screaming about it. But like Skagway was cut off from Canada because the road to Canada they couldn't go because the border is closed. And
I
so
think I
they
read about that.
yeah, and they had nothing, right? And so what they were in order for them
Yeah.
to survive, the money that the government is pumping into the economy, they've been giving it to the people and say, look, you can get the money, but only if you buy stuff from the the locals. And it's partly working in that area. But there's a whole, they had like 6 communities that they talked about. And so I don't think most
I
people
did.
see how that, you know, I guess
Yep.
the issue that's going on with all this. I'm glad that Malaysia is doing that for the employees, because although they can't fly and support the employees, this is kind of their way of saying, well, if you're very good at
Yeah.
something, we will promote it on the website. So I think that's actually quite.
And the airline is in really as the dire straits. I mean, they're in trouble.
Yeah, and
Malaysia
they were
Airlines.
in trouble before.
They've always been in trouble.
So now, and one of the things that people need to remember too is that when once everybody gets vaccinated and all that, I guess not everybody, but the developed countries, they're having issues vaccinating people. So just think about the issues that we're having in developed countries. This is like tenfold in the developing countries. So
First of all, they have to get the vaccine.
Exactly. And so although you can be vaccinated, when you go to someplace else, the people there are not vaccinated. And so you have to be conscious of that as well.
Because you're not safe until everybody is.
Right.
Really.
Right. Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. But kudos on Malaysia for actually helping out their employees there. Was that it for Malaysia?
Yes.
Okay. And now we've got Southwest and Boeing. I did see a story that said Southwest may be getting Airbus. I'm like, no way, that will never ever happen. I'm pretty sure. But I guess they're getting new planes and they're close to a deal with Boeing.
Yes, but first of all, they became one of the latest airlines to reintroduce the MAX, the 737-8 MAX aircraft into service on March 11th.
Okay.
Actually, they became the 15th airline. Before that, it was Icelandair. They apparently flew about 200 test flights of this aircraft with their crew since December. And they started out with 44 flights a day from most of their big hubs, including Atlanta, Baltimore, Las Vegas, Houston, and Midway in Chicago. But on a more ironic note, the 737 MAX has gone from like a pariah status almost to becoming an almost bestseller since it's being reintroduced, because a lot of airlines have been, not so publicly, but not so quietly either, have been ordering a lot of these planes.
Cheap.
Yes. And I think the move is brilliant.
Oh, very brilliant.
Boeing really, really needs the support. And I think Southwest is one of the airlines that has played this so shrewdly, because for months they've been not so slyly talking up how wonderful the A220 is, which was the ex-Bombardier CS300, in a dig at Boeing that you better up your game if you want us to order the MAX 7.
Yeah, but Southwest is never going to order the Airbus.
I know, right? But never say never, I guess.
Because it's so costly for them, right?
But remember Delta and Continental? Remember what they said?
Yeah, but
Boeing, I ain't going, or something like that.
Yeah, but then they merged, so they had an excuse, right? So they had an excuse. But even Alaska is getting rid of their Airbuses, right?
But they still had them.
Well, yeah, because they merged. But Southwest
didn't merge with anybody. They probably got a really, really sweet deal from Boeing.
Oh well, of course. But I mean, if you want a supporter of Boeing, it has to be Alaska, right? I mean, they are right there in Seattle.
In the hometown airline.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Well, I don't know if you can still call it hometown. That's true. Sorry, go ahead.
Fair weather hometown. But no, the MAX 7, which is the weakest selling version of the MAX series, which is the 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, I don't think there have been any orders for the MAX 7. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they have the potential to order several hundred of these aircraft to replace the 737-700 series at Southwest. So there's no official announcement yet, but there's been a lot of, shall we say, chatter. This was on Reuters, for instance,
Yeah.
that they're very close to sealing a deal. Of course, Southwest probably got a tremendous deal on this purchase.
Yeah.
Because as the CEO, Gary Kelly, mentioned recently, the A220 was, as he called it, a great plane. And yeah, you and I know that it would have been a cold day in hell when Southwest would have included a new aircraft type.
Yeah, just too expensive.
But again, I say never say never.
Never say never.
But until the deal is announced, nothing is final, of course. But this got a lot of publicity actually among all the different news sources. And also this week, Boeing got 24 more 737 MAX 8 orders from a leasing company called 777 Partners, which is based in the US. And that is an investment in Flair Airlines of Canada.
Oh, in Canada, yeah.
So yeah, Boeing is sort of on a roll because they've got the 25 from United, 75 from Ryanair, a net of 23 from Alaska, and several unannounced orders in December and February.
So any news on what they're doing about delivering the ones that they had to like park in every space that they could?
Yes, that's going to be, well, there's two things going on. There are about 400 of them parked in different areas, mostly in the Western US. So they're getting to clear that inventory out, but they're also looking to sell what they call the white tails. So like, for instance, airlines like Jet Airways or Norwegian.
Oh, because they went under.
Jet Airways went out of business and Norwegian canceled all their MAX and Airbus Neo orders. So now they have to find buyers for that as well. So they've got a long way to go towards redemption, but at least this is a positive step, though.
It is. It definitely is. Good.
And there's been no news about the 737 MAX, which is a good thing. So it's flying, it's doing its thing, saving airlines fuel and money.
Yeah.
So let's hope that continues.
And somebody sent me a report about how the airlines are handling the MAX. And I saw on, so if you go to United.com and try to book a flight like Houston, Denver, one of the flights is on a MAX. And when you pick it, it says, one of your selected flights is scheduled on a Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. To learn more about this aircraft, visit united.com/MAX or choose a different flight on the flight results page. And I would love to see the analytics of how many people actually changed that.
Actually, Southwest made a statement a few days after starting, and they said they've had almost no people refusing to fly on the MAX.
Yeah.
The one problem they have is that although 160 of 195 global aviation regulators have cleared the plane for entry into service, the one big omission is China. And that's a huge deal for Boeing because 20% of the aircraft that have been delivered are for Chinese carriers.
Yeah, interesting.
You know China is playing politics with this.
Yes, they are.
I'm not sure what exactly they want out of Boeing, but who knows?
Better deal.
But for who though? For for the Chinese carriers?
Probably.
Or if they're making a political statement?
Probably. It's aviation, right? And aviation has always...
It's a huge export for the US.
Yeah, it's always been entangled in politics.
Politics, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be...
I wonder how long they're going to continue playing this cat and mouse game.
Probably as long as they can get away with it.
And long enough to extract the best possible deal.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, you have to. You just that's just kind of how it works, right? Um,
Yep.
I was trying to look on American side to see if they said anything when they have a max. I know, is it Miami LaGuardia they're doing them, right?
Yeah. I don't know if they're still doing them, but that was the inaugural.
That was the inaugural. Yeah, okay, so here it is. So they show it that it's a max. It's the 355 flight.
Huh.
Um,
From
but
Miami? I
yeah,
think it's from LaGuardia, though, right? No.
yeah, Miami LaGuardia, the 355 is on a max. So if I
Okay.
choose it, it doesn't really. Okay, let's go main cabin. Let's see.
I think American has downplayed it much more than United has.
Yeah, they don't give me any warnings or anything. They just want my money. It's like, oh, they do the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
It's $178.40 for the one-way fare. Nope, no warnings or anything. It's like, I'm taking your money and running with it. That's it, which is fine. I mean,
But again, most people don't know the difference between a Max and an Airbus.
yeah, and they don't care. They just want to get
Yeah.
where they're going. It's like, oh, the 355, that's the time I want because I have stuff to do and it's cheap. So let me take it.
So
All right. Although the airfares, we should look at airfares and see kind of how they're going now. Oh, United did have that pie fare. Did you see it?
the $70 fare?
Well, yeah, but with all the taxes. So the fare was $31.40.
Uh-huh.
But I think someone should tell them that pie is 3.142. Not
Oh, that no, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, they had a pie fare, but the fare showed 30. I didn't look at it on the website, but the headline said $31.40. And I was like, that's not quite pie.
Not at all pie.
You're like a few, what do you call it? A few
An
apples,
order of magnitude, right?
a few apples
More.
short of a pie. But,
Why did they do this?
they're just trying to drum up business. So
Most
they
people have never heard of pie, though.
Yeah, but people don't care. $31.40 is a good fare. And
Absolutely.
they had some across. It was just like I was trying to think of where they were. It's like Houston, Florida, I think was 31.40. So people don't really care. They're like, oh, it's $31.40. I'm gonna buy it's just an airplane. They don't care. It's like, oh,
It should
it's
have
on a
been
max?
at least $31.42 instead of
Exactly.
40.
Right. It should have been. So I don't know who these new kids are who came up with this price. But
Corrected them, but beside the point.
I know it totally is. They probably didn't care, right? They probably don't know. Because I think I was telling somebody, I was mentioning to somebody that it's Pi Day, and they're like, "What's that?" They had no idea. But
Now all I
anyway,
can think about is a cherry pie.
I dare see. So, and just in case anyone in the audience don't know what Pi Day is, it's May 14th because it's 3.142 or 3.141 and a whole bunch of numbers after that is what pi is. And pi is that number in mathematics that's
That's
used to calculate things in like circles or
purples,
anything, or
yeah.
spheres or things like that. That's funny.
So
All right. So,
circumference of the a circle divided by the radius by the diameter.
well, right. So, and like there's pi r squared, and there's pi
That's the
d.
area.
That's the area. So yeah. Um, I guess I don't know if they teach those in school anymore. You should.
You should, I know. That
Yeah.
is such an odd story of a United and pi.
Yeah, well,
But
it was Pi Day. They're trying to drum up, bargains or
okay.
prices and stuff like that. I think Travelocity also did something where if you were awake at
Huh.
midnight when you went back when they spring forward,
Uh-huh. Huh.
you could apply for some free stuff, and they were given like the first 100 people or something like that.
Okay.
And Johnny Jet won something. He said he was up with his kid and he couldn't sleep or something like that. And
So
so
have they done this every year? Do you know? Because this is the first I'm
no,
hearing of it.
I don't think they've ever done this. I mean, the airlines are hurting, right? So everyone is thinking of clever ways to do things. But apparently, some people got some good fares out of it. So
Huh.
I don't think the fares are still available. It might have just been for the day or something. But I thought that was kind of clever. But they should be a little more clever and get the number right next
I know, really.
time. Unless they did, and it was reported that it was 3140, but that's what the headline said, and I was like, "True, doesn't make any sense." Oh my goodness!
As they say, only in America.
Only in America, right? Um,
We
all right.
provide entertainment for the rest of the world.
Yes. So if you and you know what's interesting? So if you've flown a Max, drop us a note and let us know. I actually have I had flown the Max before on a few carriers. United was the first one I did up to might have been Seattle I did or Anchorage.
Hmm.
And
The engine sound is very different, I think, because I
it
flew
is
one a few weeks ago.
yeah, it is quite different. And I've flown I know they're flying them from Houston to Florida. So if you're going to Florida, you can get them, and also Houston to Denver. And I flew Southwest, and I actually have a review of it, so I'm going to put a link so you guys
So
can take a look at it. All right, so JetBlue. So not many people know this, Kishore, but they do have a technology arm, and Kishore is going to tell us about that.
yes, the one thing I've learned from this series of what are we doing here?
What's happening in travel?
Podcasts.
Podcast.
Is that I have learned things I never ever knew.
See?
And one of the most recent is that JetBlue is a travel tech company. Now, it's not a huge portion of the company's business, but they wanted to get bigger. So this was all revealed in public recently by the Chief Digital and Technology Officer at JetBlue, whose name is Ish Sundaram. He was talking at a Software Intelligence Forum 2021 meeting last week, actually. And he talked about the airline wanting to be more than just involved in carrying passengers from one place to the other. They want to be foremost in travel technology, and they want to leverage the latest and greatest technology, as they put it, to do business differently. So rather than being a wholly developmental software versus hardware company, what they want to do is to co-create solutions with partners' help. And one of the most recent manifestations of that has been their mobile apps, which they have perfected, as they put it, with outside developers and designers. Now, I thought most airlines do that, but I could be wrong.
You mean develop their own app?
Yes.
Yes, some do. I know United does,
Yes.
but I don't know if others.
But the US carriers are pretty large, right? So they are able to afford doing this in-house.
Yeah,
Most
yeah,
airlines, would they do it in-house?
yeah. Because you
I'm
know
not
what?
sure.
But you know what though? It makes it easier, and you can get changes done much easier than having to wait. But they still outsource some of the stuff. Like the testing and things like that. They still outsource some of those.
Yeah. So what they want to do is they're looking at efforts to, as they call it, future-proof its business by diversification beyond flights, which makes a lot of sense.
Well, you can decide not to fly to Heathrow. That will future-proof your business really well. Sorry.
Well, they made a big splash with their new Mint cabin.
They have.
That I think has got a little, other airlines a little worried that they're doing this on a narrow body.
Yes.
This level of luxury on a narrow body. So
we
will see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see how. Where We are going off track, but carry on.
Yes. So did you know? I'm trying to not so subtly steer you back.
Okay.
They own a wholly owned subsidiary called JetBlue Travel Products,
Yes.
which is a technical company. You knew that?
Yeah.
Based in Fort Lauderdale, in Florida. And they're sort of like an experimental lab, if you will, to test new technology and travel concepts. For instance, there are kiosks at the airport which now enable you to do everything touch-free. So um, I didn't know they had this. And then they also have another company called JetBlue Tech Ventures, which is their venture capital firm within JetBlue, the airline. And they have invested in more than 30 startups
Mm-hmm.
in their lifespan, which is not very long. One of them is called Gladly, and they have been using their customer service messaging based on the research, the work of this company, Gladly. Another
Yeah.
one is called ClimaCell, which is a weather technology company that gives you very specific hour by hour weather forecasts at five cities where JetBlue flies. And one example they gave was that a recent snowstorm in Boston that had ClimaCell forecasting that the snow would end 3 hours ahead of other companies' forecasts. And as it turned out, they were correct. And it saved JetBlue from canceling 8 other flights and an estimated 100,000 US dollars in expenses.
Mm.
Then they've also got investments in a company called Shape Security, which is a cybersecurity software company, and Flyer, FLYR, which ironically is also the name of the new Norwegian airline.
Yeah.
That offers airfare forecasts in terms of price insurance for travelers. Now, they're also considering, and this is a weird one, a revenue management software system,
Makes
which
sense.
is a huge deal
Mm-hmm.
because that could be quite lucrative. Now, it's not a lot because in 2020, JetBlue spent 35 million in non-airline expenses, which is essentially the operating costs of these two companies, which is 0.007% of their total expenses. I mean, it's not a lot at all.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a lot than I have. But um, I just wanted to point out that JetBlue is really not the first to do this
No,
because Air
Delta was
Asia
the first, actually, at least for U.S.
and
carriers.
okay, AirAsia has been doing this, and then the one I knew about was Lufthansa,
Mm-hmm.
with Lufthansa Technik,
Exactly.
um, and the Lufthansa Innovation Hub.
Yes.
Now, one thing I did want to point out is that not everything has been super successful with JetBlue because they had a cruising store. That was the name of the company in 2018. That was used to build better cruise forecast booking. But that folded, unfortunately, recently.
Yeah.
Not really a surprise given that cruises are essentially on hold.
Yeah. Well, that happens
But I just thought
with
this was very
startups.
interesting.
Yeah, I know about the startup
Hmm.
thing because we're still we try to start a company that would do uh, make booking charter flights better, and so we're in the second iteration of that now. And when we did it initially, we were considering applying for that JetBlue
Hmm.
venture
Oh,
capital thing
okay.
that they have. Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
so that was something that, but also the live TV that they have on board,
Hmm.
that is a subsidiary company of theirs that runs
That's
that.
right. And I know Continental licensed it.
Exactly. Yeah. So they've a long time ago figured out that, hey, we can make money off of all this tech that's just like Lufthansa does with Lufthansa Tech that you're saying, and Delta does the same thing. Delta has a huge technology arm.
Okay.
that they do a lot of research. And when I went to
But
CES,
is it a separate company though? Because I thought they send their aircraft to China for servicing. I know
uh,
United goes to Hong Kong.
yeah, I mean, but in terms of the technology side of things, like,
Okay.
the app development, what's the name of the backend system that Delta uses? The reservation system starts with a W, I think. I can't remember now, but they created all that stuff in
Okay.
house and things like that. Similar to, I guess, United in shares,
Hmm.
Well,
Well, Continental in shares.
well,
Now
Continental.
United in shares.
Yeah.
Because United had something else, right?
Apollo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's still that's still a sore point among the two airlines.
Yeah. People need to get over this and move on.
Yeah, I know, but there's still there's still
I
the
know,
Apollo
I
people.
know.
There's still the shares people. But yeah, so that's
So-
good. That's good that they do that. So those are the airlines that come to mind when I do that. Uh, but I still think it's a bad idea for them to fly to Heathrow. Or
But they're not flying. They haven't announced Heathrow.
It's Gatwick they're doing, right?
No, they haven't
Or
announced
the
it.
Stansted. Oh no, but they're doing it.
They're doing it, but they haven't
Yeah.
announced the airport. Remember,
Oh,
they're
okay.
also Luton, right?
Yes, I still think it's a bad idea. Now, the plane that they're doing, it's mostly, it's like 24
24.
luxury seats, and I guess, I don't know, they didn't say what the economy was going to be like. And
Yeah.
somebody was like, is it all business class? And I'm like, yeah, it's JetBlue. I don't think it's all business class.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see what they come up, because if they do that, then they're gonna have to have a sub fleet, which is always difficult to do.
But they want to fly Transcon also on these, right?
Yeah, actually they're doing I think they did the inaugural Transcon is coming up, because I saw some people
I
on the
think it's
Points Guide talking
LAX.
about that. Yeah, and so they're gonna do that. But that airplane is a different configuration from the one that's going international. They have
Okay.
they have like slightly different. There's something different about the domestic one. I don't know why.
Okay.
So I guess they already have a sub fleet by default.
So, but JetBlue seems, you have to admit, they get a lot of positive press. You rarely hear a negative story about JetBlue. Do you?
Yeah, which is why they kicked the flight attendant out. So there was a flight attendant that went to
Oh,
Jamaica.
that deployed that slide?
No, not deployed the slide. She went to Jamaica, and she got COVID, and then she had the hotel that she was staying said, oh, we'll comp the rest of your stay. And then she tweeted something saying that the hotel was holding her hostage, and the Jamaica Defense Force went and checked it out, and that wasn't the case. And then she made quite a big fuss, and then JetBlue ended up firing her. So, but that's the latest news that's been in there. They've actually been a good airline. I've flown them. I've had really good experiences with them. It's like was it WestJet that started as a low cost carrier, and now they're no longer a low cost carrier, and it's kind of the same thing with JetBlue. They started as a low cost carrier, but I think they're trying to go in a marketplace that's extremely crowded with what they're offering. And I don't think it's necessary. We don't need another flight flying across the Atlantic in business class. You just don't need it. And people go, oh, it's really cool. It's JetBlue. It's main service, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, you already have enough airplanes crossing the Atlantic and you can't fill them. You can't make enough money from them. So I just don't see, I see it as a really huge expense that they're putting themselves through with little gain. But, I don't have all the numbers, but that's just how it looks.
Well, you haven't then heard about Norge Atlantic Airlines. I mean, I wasn't going to mention it because we have very few details, but remember Norwegian's foray into transatlantic ops that failed?
Uh-huh. There's another one?
There's another one, yes, coming soon. I mean, I expect to have more details next week. But how do these people get their money? That's what amazes me.
Well,
clearly this is not a workable solution yet, because they want to use the the old 787s that Norwegian had to restart
Oh, of
under a new
course,
company.
of course.
So
The thing
stay
about
tuned.
so like I was thinking about this just the other day, right? So when all this stuff tanked, I think United stock went down to like, I don't know, as a low
Less than
amount.
10.
Yeah. It's now 60 something dollars.
Yep.
And so if you have money, downturns work really good for you because you can do things that you will be more profitable. Because if you had bought the United stock when it was, less than 10,
Yeah.
it's 69 now. Huge, right?
Yep.
Same thing with like real estate. When the market crashes, people go in and buy all these depressed neighborhoods, and then they gentrify them later, and they make a ton of money off of it. Airlines is the same thing, right? A lot of these airlines have, I was going to use an incorrect term, so I won't, have parked their planes, and you can get them really cheap. And so these investors say, okay, well, we're going to put some money in, and then what's a few hundred million losing, right? When you have like a few hundred more, and then you can figure out how to do your taxes properly because it's a loss. So you probably get back money.
Some benefit.
It's right from losing the money that you had, and there's just more money. So I think that's how they think. We need to start thinking like that, Kusha.
So what do we use for money?
But I don't know. We got to talk to one of these guys who are doing these new airlines, and maybe we can help them, because if they want to spend the money, they want to spend the money, and so our jobs would be to help them spend the money because they want to do it, and we have the knowledge that we can work with them. So I mean, they're going to do it anyway, right? And they're going to hire people to do it anyway. So why not hire us?
So if you're listening, anyone.
So that's how we'd get our money, Kusha. So we're here to help. All right. That was enough for the JetBlue, right?
Yes.
All right. So let's do. So if you
What's
notice,
the next one?
I have a Ryanair airplane, and Kusha has a British Airways airplane, and it's not coincidence. So what have you got to say about these two airlines, Kusha?
So again, I'm not sure if Ryanair was the first, but it's the first article that I read. But on March the 10th, they made this announcement of creating a COVID-19 travel wallet within the Ryanair app.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about this off and on for weeks now. So what is a travel wallet? It's essentially a portal where you can store a bunch of different information in one location. Excuse me. And now what you can do is you can have all your health documentation available for you online, and you can skip, for instance, queues at the airport, for instance, because what Ryanair is claiming is that different countries have different requirements for entry for foreigners.
They do.
So they want to make it as easy as possible for their passengers. So before you fly, so you don't have to stand in line, for instance, to get your documents checked at the airport before you fly.
Because Ryanair does that a lot, which is why they have to do that, and it's very annoying.
But all of them do that, right? All of them have to do that now.
Yeah, but Ryanair does it a little weird. Even before all this, you had to they wouldn't let you check in. You have to go to the airport. If you had a certain citizenship and was going to another country, you had to go to the airport.
But can't you get charged? Won't you get charged?
No,
at the airport?
No, they wouldn't charge you, and that's because you can't check in a line. It forbids you to. When I was going to Vilnius, that's what happened. It wouldn't let me check in a line because I had a US passport going to an EU.
So this Ryanair sort of preempted this expected rollout of some form of health certification required before air travel resumes in the summer. And in fact, just today on the BBC, they were announcing that Europe is seriously considering this for the near future.
Yeah.
Because eventually people expect all these travel restrictions to go away. So this travel wallet with all the portals for the health documentation is an interim step.
Yeah.
So this was announced March 10th, and then on the 15th, British Airways announced that on BA.com, so this is online, not on the app, the airline is trialing another health portal within the Manage My Booking section of BA.com. And they're testing it for flights from London to India, to all the Indian destinations. So 3 days before departure, customers on flights from London to India get a notification saying that they should upload their negative COVID test or their vaccination documentation or whatever. And the airline promises to have them, the documents, that is, verified within 6 hours of submission. So once they do that, they are then eligible to check in online 24 hours before departure and again, avoid the queues at London airports. So they still haven't expanded this to BA.com, but that is, the BA app on your mobile device, but that is coming. And they're looking for additional markets to test this on, but they're starting with India. They're also, this is British Airways, is also testing the Verifly app, which is very similar for flights to the US and Canada and for all incoming UK arrivals.
Okay.
So I don't know if other carriers will start to join the bandwagon, but this does make sense, actually.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and they also avoid the queues. Well, we created these stupid rules in the first place about checking documents and all that. So I'm glad that they're actually doing that.
But it all depends on individual countries, right?
It depends on
the airline's fault.
It depends on the individual. Well, so like the Ryanair one was kind of stupid, right? Because when I fly a US carrier to another country, they will still allow me to check in online. They just won't allow me to print a boarding pass, right? They'll give me something that says, hey, you're checked in, whatever. But I have to see a person because, like, for example, when we had visas for Brazil, you had to show your visa for Brazil. And they still check your documents before you board and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, one thing I'm trying to think is how do you, if I get, because visas aren't electronic. So if I'm going to Russia,
except for a few countries, you're right. You're right.
There are a few countries that do have them, but even so, the systems aren't connected. So like they're probably the only country I know of that is electronic, and the airline actually knows is Australia.
Australia, yeah.
Right, because they actually it is actually called an electronic travel authority, and it is actually electronic. But the other places, I mean, like, and it gets very complex, right? Because if you're going between countries, then if I'm going to a country that has malaria, but I'm already in a country that's a malaria country, then I don't need a malaria shot. And so little things like that, and the thematic system has all that in there. So, and there's always going to be restrictions because we're going to have COVID restrictions for a long time. I'm guessing 3 to 4 years because there is so many different things occurring in different places. And some countries don't have the vaccine, and the poorer countries are going to take a long time before they get the vaccine. But it's good that they're doing something to at least alleviate the issue. It sounds like it's a problem because I know the Ryanair example I gave you was a problem. It was very annoying. And so it sounds like it was something that was a problem already. And now they're like, oh, great, COVID's here. Let's fix it. Because now is the time to fix it, right? You know,
Yep. Yep.
So that's good. I'm glad that they're doing that. So you'll see more airlines coming up with. Well, we talked about I think the last episode some of this, right?
Yeah, we've been talking about it for months, I think,
Mm-hmm.
with all these different companies coming out with uh, different uh, health wallets, as they call them,
Yes, exactly. So that's
travel
good.
passports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny though how that all of a sudden everyone is a health expert, and all of a sudden everyone have realized that there are health requirements into going into a country, not just visa requirements. And I'm like, yes, there's always been health requirements into going into a country, but we just didn't care, or it wasn't a big deal, right?
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's quite funny. I know that when you go to Jamaica, they will put you in. They ask you a whole series of questions on the paper, and one
Huh.
of them is, have you been to? And they give you a whole list of countries within the last 3 months, and if you are, you're in quarantine. So you go over to this. It's always a lady, because if you notice when you go to Jamaica, all the people are almost always female that work with you. I guess because the females are more trusted in essence. But when you go, you'll see
Is
what
that
I mean.
right?
But yep, almost all the people in the airport in terms of like
Wow.
people that you talk to,
Huh.
customer facing are females. Very few males they do have.
Wow.
Even
Okay.
even the security people who wand you and stuff
Huh.
are females.
Huh.
Next time you go, check and you'll see what I mean. Um, uh, what was I going to say about that again? So they will put you in quarantine, and basically you go
Huh.
to this person and they say, hey, you need to fill out this form, and you need to keep in touch with us in case you're feeling sick or something like that. So they've been doing that. It's just been on paper, and people just don't think about it. They don't realize it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so it'll be interesting.
So,
All right. So our next story, um, and prior to us coming on, we're trying to pronounce this word. So there's an airline in Norway called Wideroe, and Krisha has a story in there, but we were trying to pronounce it. So if you can pronounce that, I pronounce it. Was it Wideroe? And how did you pronounce it?
Wideroe.
Come on, you listen to the thing. Well done, Krisha.
But
But
no, I thought it was Wideroe, but we Googled it, and we're more confused than ever because every time we go try to Google the way it's pronounced, it was a different
yeah,
pronunciation. So I'm sticking with Wideroe,
okay. So
Wideroe, as they call them.
we
But
need
anyway,
we need a Norwegian person to tell us how to pronounce it. But apparently the W is pronounced as a V.
B.
Yeah. So which you
So
go ahead.
this is the last airline I would have expected. One of the last airlines I would have expected to be a pioneer. But they're actually one of the most ideal airlines for this sort of pioneering concept that we're
Yeah.
going to talk about. So this airline, which is a regional airline in Norway, the largest regional airline in Norway,
Mm-hmm.
is partnering up with Rolls-Royce and Tecnam, which is an airframe manufacturer from Italy, and they are going to hopefully be the first airline in the world to fly an electric um, aircraft by the year 2026.
Oh.
The airframe is going to be based on the 11-seat Tecnam P2012 Traveler model, which sort of looks like a Dornier 328, not the jet, the propeller aircraft.
Okay.
Sort of looks like that. Um, but this is a short takeoff landing, so STOL capability. And it's ideal because Wideroe's routes, almost 74% to 75% of them are less than 170 miles in length,
Oh
in
wow.
distance.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is sort of ideal to test out a concept. And I think this is fantastic news.
That's cool.
So, yeah. I just wish airlines would also consider hydrogen. But there are lots of storage problems, as we've talked about, for that.
From the last time, right? Yeah.
Right. Because these batteries are going to need electricity and storage and minerals and
There's so much talk about creating a battery for something electric that you have to plug in to charge the battery.
so
As you say that, there is a program. I think it's on Apple TV, maybe, or Netflix, or one of those things. It's with Ewan McGregor from Star Trek, and not Star Trek. Sorry, Star
Wars.
Wars.
I don't know. Is that right?
Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, he was. He played. I'm trying to black. Why am I trying to black? But anyway,
Don't look at me.
I know he's some security. He's supposed to help me with this, but he's some Star Wars.
I have no idea.
He is
Star Wars, Star Trek, same thing.
Well, he's a Jedi. All right, so, and this is related because it talks about electric. He started at the bottom of the what do you call it now, in Chile, from the bottom
Patagonia.
of Patagonia, and he was riding a bike. It was a Harley Davidson.
I heard about this.
Yeah, electric bike.
I heard about this.
All the way to LA. If you guys get a chance to watch it, it's very good. It's like a travel show, because he's driving to all these different communities, and it's beautiful. But the key thing is he has to find places to charge the bike everywhere. So what they did, they went to, it looks like they went to some of the places, and they put these charging stations in. And so what it will do now is that if you have electric vehicle coming through these areas, you can actually get them charged as you go through. But it's very cool. It shows how the different customs situations are, the different transportation methods in that part of the world. But it's, and all the challenges that they went through. So if you get a chance, I believe it's Apple TV. It's on. Is it The Long Way Home or something like that?
But it's been a while, right? It's not like recent.
Yeah, it has been a while. And they did one across Europe, but it wasn't with electrics. It was with regular bikes.
Okay.
And then this one was him and another guy was doing it. And they had this whole team, and they had 2 trucks, and the 2 trucks were hybrid.
Okay.
Well, not hybrid, they were electric as well. So that's out there. If you guys want to see a really, really good travel show, and the interesting thing is that when he was further down, nobody recognized him and knew who he was. So he just, because there wasn't many people anyway, and he'd go to these towns and people were like, yeah. And then he starts getting further north, and people were like, he was taking photos, he was taking selfies. This is all pre-COVID. He was taking photos and selfies, and it was quite interesting.
Well, would you know who he was if you met him?
Yeah.
You would? Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely know he is. But after a while, because he grew facial hair and stuff, you couldn't tell exactly who he was. But you could still see his features in there. Yeah.
So
that was fun. All right, so a little digression there. Now, and eventually I'll tell you which character he played. Okay, so we're moving across from Norway, across the Atlantic, and we're gonna stop in Iceland. Icelandair and Icelandair, I mean, like everybody else, they've had a huge issue with COVID. Although Iceland actually was doing really well with it. Because
they have managed it, I think, among the best countries in the world.
They have, because they had special procedures, and when you come in, there's quarantine, and they do tracking and stuff like that. So what are they doing now with Icelandair?
And in retrospect, I'm not sure why I included this topic, but it just seemed interesting to me that they have a domestic arm called Air Iceland Connect, which is very different in terms of everything compared to Icelandair.
Yes.
So, and they fly domestically in Iceland, and they also go to Greenland and other destinations. Well, there are not that many destinations close to Iceland.
Right.
But they are now going to get rid of that brand and bring it all under the Icelandair name. From March 16th, as a matter of fact. The rationale is a more streamlined airline and improved customer service. But wouldn't you have realized this a lot earlier? But apparently not.
They probably did, but they
So,
couldn't convince people to do it, and now they can.
so, so just to give you an example of how different the sizes are, in 2019, Icelandair carried 4.4 million
Yeah.
passengers on its mainline brand, and about 282,000 350 passengers domestically. So
Okay.
that's essentially the story.
Okay. It's
And also, sorry, one more thing.
uh-huh.
They had 757 freighters. This is Icelandair. And they've decided to retire their two 763s and convert them into freighters.
Okay, which makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Have you been to Iceland yet?
yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and it's such an expensive place, and so freight is because so when WoW was around, WoW would take you to Iceland for like really cheap fares, but then you'd spend all the money on hotels and food
On food.
and food in Iceland because it's really really expensive. Um, you never hear people talk about that, but they would bitch and moan about paying for extra bags, and I'm like, well, wait till you get to Iceland, you'll be moaning a little more. But it's a really beautiful place, but it's so expensive. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so for my Star Wars fans, my apologies. Uh, he plays the young Obi-Wan Kenobi. So just I'm probably we'll probably get zero comments, but this might be the one thing that people get comments on, like, how do you not know which character he plays? And I'm like, I just didn't remember. But anyway, he played Obi-Wan Kenobi, and
I didn't know that.
yeah, and the show is called Long Way Up
Okay.
because he's
Okay.
coming from the bottom all the way to the top. But it's very good if you get a chance to watch it. I mean, it's interesting because some of the places he's been, I've been there, and through his thing, and they chose a specific route, I guess, because they want to get scenery, or it
Chile
was
is
very,
spectacular, right? In the
oh,
south, at
Chile
least.
is
It's
absolutely
absolutely
spectacular. Yeah,
spectacular.
I made it to Punta Arenas,
Hmm.
and that's such a beautiful town. I don't have any pictures of Punta Arenas. I don't think my camera was working that time, but
So,
it's quite beautiful. All right, so
so
that's
what's the next
Iceland
topic?
Air. Emirates. They're making it expensive for unvaccinated. What are they doing? Are they penalizing people?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So, Emirates has been on a mission since December to vaccinate all its employees, which
Mm-hmm.
makes perfect sense.
Yes.
So, they recently, this is from an article in Travel Pulse on March 11,
Yeah.
sent a memo to their employees giving them until March 15th to either get in line to get vaccinated or be prepared to pay for their own COVID-19 tests, which have to be done a week before they are scheduled for flight or standby service.
Oh, okay.
So, of course, they have a few exemptions, like employees who are not waiting for their second dose or who have a valid reason why they cannot get vaccinated, or if they've been recently infected. But this is a line in the sand, if you will, that either get vaccinated or be prepared to pay for your own testing. Um,
Hmm.
so I didn't realize you could really do that. Laws are so different in different parts of the world. So, and it makes complete sense because, as they said, they expect certain countries may in the future differentiate entry criteria between those who are vaccinated and those who are not. So,
Yes.
having a fully vaccinated crew uh, is not only essential from a health and safety angle, but also from an operational perspective.
Yeah,
It does make sense.
It makes
But
sense. It will be
I
more
didn't know you could
comfortable
issue
anyway.
an ultimatum like that.
Well, I mean, the ultimatum isn't that you're fired; it's that you're going to pay for it.
Yeah,
So you still don't have to take it, right?
true. But those are not cheap, right?
Well, yeah, it's like $140 or something.
It's US dollars, yeah.
Yeah,
So they've estimated that about 60% of their crew have been vaccinated with either the Pfizer or the Chinese one.
yeah.
So
So I've not
I
heard
thought that
about
was interesting.
yeah, I've not heard about the Chinese vaccine. I guess because it's not here in the U.S. You know how that works.
Yeah. But I
Um,
believe some European countries, like Eastern European countries, have been
I've been using it.
negotiating. Yeah.
Okay. Because I would think, I mean, because I was like, yeah, I'm sure there's one, but you don't hear anything in the news like about Chinese in Chinese getting vaccinated, or I've heard it stuff about the Russian where
Right.
people just aren't taking it because they don't trust the government. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Our world is so complex. All right, so we're at the end of aircrafts, and we're almost at an hour
Yes.
for this episode. So
Do we have a lot more topics?
we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. So what we can do, we can end this episode, and then we can do the other 5 in the next episode.
Suits me.
Which I guess I should call 74. Okay.
This is why you confuse me.
I know, right? Exactly, because halfway through, you're like, oh, okay, this is gonna be episode 74, will be the next one. Episode 747. No, not quite. All right, good. So we'll do that. So that's it for this episode. Remember, you can find us in. So I can't tell how much of the episode you guys really watch or listen to. Well, I guess I can. If you watch the videos on YouTube, I can actually tell. But if you listen to it, I can't really tell how far you go into it. Oh, but we did have. Wait. Before we go, we did have a comment. Uh, 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 hold on. Let's go look for the comments. We did get some comments in. I'm just trying to keep talking so we don't have dead air. Okay, here it is. This was some thoughts stemming from our overly long episode 67. No,
See?
that was sarcasm. So he says, you spoke about streaming services, which had me wondering.
We did?
Yeah, because we were talking about trying to know what it was now. I think we were talking about programming and what people can watch on airplanes and things like that. And how do streaming services work on a plane? Do I connect my laptop to the onboard Wi-Fi and then stream? Would Netflix work over the ocean? Which country's content would you get? I did log into Netflix when I was in Japan, and they gave me access to Japan's content. And so with this, I think there's satellite Wi-Fi, and there is the overland Wi-Fi. And I know that when you fly some of the US carriers, you can get Wi-Fi to like about maybe 50 miles outside of the coast. And then after that, they have content that they've already downloaded on the plane, and you can actually use that content. But you normally don't have any Wi-Fi unless that particular airplane has satellite Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And even when you're going to like Alaska, it's very weird. If you're flying like on United or something, you can get
up to the US border.
Yeah. And then when you're in Alaska again, you'll get it. But there's nothing in between the Alaska. When you're over Canada, you get nothing. And so, but the streaming services, if it's satellite Wi-Fi, you could still get. The problem that they don't allow you to stream on board because it takes a lot of bandwidth.
So what was the point of this comment? Not to be rude.
No, because we were talking about streaming, and he was just wondering how it works.
Okay.
And so,
That's true for Netflix, though. I don't know how you do it.
yeah, I don't know how
But
Netflix.
does Netflix have country-specific programming?
Yes, they do have country-specific programming.
Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of
Okay.
things are licensed in different countries.
I see.
Just like how, like, if you some CBS, you can't watch CBS outside a country.
Right.
BBC is the same way. You can't go do the BBC stuff because you're not paying for the TV licenses. A lot of it is licensing. But if you're watching streaming on board an airplane, I assume that you would get. I don't know. I assume that you would get the streaming from wherever your account is registered, is where you'd be able to
Yeah.
stream, because it is
And
satellite.
also, if the particular satellite you're using at the time
Yeah.
carries that content.
Now, something that was interesting was I was at a lounge in Heathrow, and I was at the Lufthansa lounge. And when I'm in the Lufthansa lounge, I can't connect to the BBC because it thinks I'm in Germany. And
Okay.
it says your country is incorrect. We don't have service to your to your country. I'm like, I'm in the UK, but the Wi-Fi is coming from Germany apparently, or whatever it is.
The BBC in Germany.
No, but you can't look at the when you go online to watch
Huh.
the programs
Okay.
on
Oh, I see. I see.
bbc.co.uk.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Right,
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't. You
That's
have to
right.
be in the UK, and it was
Yeah.
telling me that I wasn't, and which told me that the Lufthansa is doing a VPN from Germany, is what you're getting,
Yeah, you're right.
which
Because
is
even
really
on the
odd.
BBC website, if you want
Yeah,
to watch any of their content, you can't do it, at least from here in the US.
yeah. And so
So,
another topic he had was I'm always talking about why are the airlines just harping on HEPA filters. It's like, of course we expect those to work. You don't need to tell me every time that they work. And when he says that if passengers don't fly because they're scared, talking about HEPA filters can't hurt address those fears. Fair
yeah.
enough. I can't say anything about that one. And so he said, oh, he said, thanks for reading my comment about podcast lens. So you can let Kushro know that there are tons of Star Trek episodes out there. A quick scan on iTunes showed over 70 individual podcast shows that focus on Star Trek, or one of their spin-offs. The Star Trek podcast I listen to usually clocks in at about an hour and a half, sometimes climb into 2 hours per episode. Thing about a podcast is you don't have to listen to the entire thing at one go. So you can do 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, or whatever it is that you want to go to. As long as you can listen within a week or so, the content usually doesn't become too dated.
That's true.
So
I
that should
can't
help you,
believe
right?
that about Star Trek. They have podcasts about Star Trek. I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
whether to be amazed or sad.
There's podcasts about a lot of things. And I mean,
So,
no, there's a reason why Disney bought it's Star Wars they bought, I think. Because
okay.
there's so much, the audience is huge. And when you go to these, I mean, that's why Ewan McGregor is so famous, because he's Obi-Wan Kenobi, show. Granted, I couldn't
Well, not
remember
that
his
famous,
character.
apparently, because I didn't know.
Kusha,
And I'd like to think myself as being slightly clued in, but apparently not.
All right, Kisha. Um, hopefully COVID will be over soon and we can get you out some more.
No, you could not pay me enough to watch Star Wars or Star Trek.
Really,
Sorry.
Kisha?
No.
You don't like Star Trek? Oh,
Mm-mm.
or Star Wars? I don't know. I
Please
don't know
don't
about you,
flame
Kisha.
me
I don't.
because I really don't care.
Oh, that's too funny. All right, so but all this Star Trek, I'm gonna actually I should name the episode. My buddy Christian hates Star Wars and Star Trek. We get we
No, I
get
don't
so much
hate it,
audience.
but
No, I know you don't. I'm just kidding. Come on, we have to get the headline. But if you guys have a comment, please feel free to send it in to us, and we'll take a look. And remember, we are on all the podcasts and channels out there. And you can go to passrider.com/WHIT. You can go to Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. What's the other thing? Apple, iTunes is the biggest place where everybody is. Or just, just go, just search for What's Happening in Travel. And apparently somebody was searching for us and couldn't find us. So you can search for our names, Kerwin McKenzie or Christian Park, or search for What's Happening in Travel, or search for Travel Podcast, and we should show up. Or just go to passrider.com/WHIT. So that's it
Thank you
today.
for listening.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.